Yesterday, President Trump signed an executive order directing Education Secretary Linda McMahon to begin dismantling the U.S. Department of Education, aiming to shift control of education back to the states where it belongs. I think this cartoon from A.F. Branco says it all. The Department of Education is the worm in the apple of the nation's education system, rotted by corrupt teachers' unions and federal bureaucrats, adults who care more about padding their own pockets with taxpayer money than providing high-quality education for our nation's kids. Let's bring in our panel, senior fellow at the American Culture Project, I should say, Corey DeAngelis, along with former senior counsel for the Department of Education, Sarah Parshall-Perry. Welcome to you both. Sarah, you first. You're calling this the most welcome development in American education to date. How is this going to change the course of children's education in your view?
Well, I think what it's going to do is put less emphasis on big government and more emphasis on education at the granular level. Remember, children learn and earn merit best when they have parents, teachers, and educators in charge that aren't beholden to some Washington bureaucracy. We have spent $3 trillion since its founding in 1979 through the Department of Education. That is far too much money for far too below average an outcome. It is really the most welcome development because people are tired of having to answer to Washington for what happens in their own communities.
Amen to that. Corey, you were at the signing yesterday. What was it like for you there to be there with President Trump, putting parents back in the driver's seat? I know it's something you've been fighting for a very long time.
Oh, it was glorious. Christmas came early this year, and this is one of the best presents we've ever received as a nation. Trump won the parent vote by 9 points after campaigning on this issue. We're returning education to the states. We're making American education great again, and it's a fantastic time to be a parent because we're going to have more local control in education. The plan is to have it block granted back to the states, and so the lunatic left is fear-mongering against a straw man right now. They're trying to say this is going to defund education or that these special needs programs would be abolished. That is not true at all. If you look at the actual proposal in Congress, you listen to what Trump said yesterday, the money's given back to the states, so you'll have more money to go towards the classroom since less of that funding will be wasted on useless bureaucrats pushing paper in D.C. thousands of miles away who have no idea what your children need. That department does not educate a single child. And you look, the proof is in the pudding, Chris. You look over time, outcomes have gotten worse, and we throw more money at the problem, spending nearly $20,000 per student per year in America in the government schools. That is a failure, and the time is up. It's time to return education to the parents. They should be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, Teachers Union boss in the meantime, Randi Weingarten, is doing the media rounds. Here she is declaring that big government equals education. Watch.
It's a disaster symbolically as much as it's a disaster in reality. Think about a country whose president basically says as their first acts, I'm getting rid of education. What does that say about the future? What does that say about, take all the things that Republicans believe in, entrepreneurship, ingenuity, creativity. How do you say to a country, I'm getting rid of the one department, the smallest department in the federal government, the Department of Education?
Yeah, government equals education. Sarah, Randi and her other apparatchiks, they're giving up the ghost here, aren't they? They are focused on adult-populated bureaucracies. Not once did she mention children's education, did she?
No, never once. And in fact, remember that her teachers union actually voted down a resolution at its national convention a few years ago to enhance the education outcomes for every child, but voted up a resolution to support abortion on demand. Randi is doing what Randi does best, which is act like a left-wing agitprop because teachers unions are so beholden to the federal Department of Education and remember had wild success when it kept keeping our schools closed during the COVID pandemic. That will no doubt imperil her job and her future, by the way, which is funded to the tune of just about $500,000 a year personally in her salary alone. So what we're doing is the impact that she is actually seeing now for her National Teachers Union is going to diminish and in very, very quick order.
Corey, let's stick with Weingarten because she's now trying to duck responsibility and duck criticism for pressuring schools to stay closed during the China virus pandemic. Watch this.
COVID was a terrible time for us. And as you know, because I was on your show a lot and other shows, I wanted schools to be reopened as early as April of 2020. The issue was the fear and the issue was the safety issues. But COVID has really hurt in so many ways. But this has been a Republican talking point for a long time.
Oh, okay, so it's a GOP talking point, you say. Well, let's see if Randy is telling the truth or is just another left-wing liar. Roll the tape.
And if people are in high risk, they shouldn't be in school. They should be doing things remotely.
Vaccine should be available for teachers and, when safe, for kids. And then ultimately try to think about the summer as an enrichment program where we can really pull kids back in.
Is this semester, is this school year probably not going to have full school openings?
Well, so I'm glad you asked that question, Chuck, because what does full school opening mean? If you do 6 feet of physical distancing, you're essentially saying in a school you're going to have about 50% or 60% of people in there at any one time, not 100%.
Corey, your reaction to what you just heard.
Oh, her gravy train is finally coming to an end. She's in panic mode. She says she was angry the other day on MSNBC. I think she's more afraid than anything else. She feels the power slipping through her fingertips each and every day because Trump is making it happen finally. She's going to lose her monopoly on the mind of other people's children, and she's going to lose that funding gravy train that was mentioned just a second ago to a tune of $500,000 a year. But look, they lobbied the CDC. Her union lobbied the CDC during COVID to make it more difficult to reopen schools. She had one of her local affiliates in Chicago. They tweeted out that, quote, the push to reopen schools is rooted in sexism, racism, and misogyny. She's just moving the goalposts to try to during the COVID reopening era. They fought to close the schools. They held children's education hostage to use that as leverage for more money. They're so pathetic. They're greedy. They want to trap your kids in their failure factories while a lot of those union bosses send their own kids to the private schools. It's about time we unleash education freedom for everybody so no one is any longer trapped in Randy Weingarten's schools.
Amen.
We need to be able to send our kids to places that are aligned with our values, not hers.
Amen to that. Sarah Parshall Perry and Corey DeAngelis, guys, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.